Hello, my name is Sofia Tarabrina, and I'm currently a writing instructor at the University of Missouri, Columbia. Today, I'm going to present to you a piece of my PhD dissertation research. And my dissertation was about doing peer review in different computer-mediated modes. Today, I will present a small piece, and it is titled Peer Review with Google Docs in a Technical and Professional Communication Class, How to Comment Effectively to Mitigate Conflicts. There is a little problem with switching between slides. Sorry. So at first, I will talk about scholarship in this field, and then I will explain my research context. After that, I will share my findings and discuss implications. As for the urgency of this topic, as you see, I decided to connect Google Docs and Power Dynamics. I chose to do this because this year's convention makes such a large emphasis on intersectionality. And after I looked into scholarship, I found that there is a real gap that I can try to fill with my research. So that's what I found on using Google Docs and peer review. First and foremost, the research focuses mainly on English language learning contexts, primarily abroad. Also a little bit on L1 context, but in middle and high US schools, and nothing about college. And also those researchers who chose to mention this parameter in their methodology sections, they did peer review with Google Docs in pairs. And I was going to do it in groups of 3. The focus of research is on student attitudes and effect on revisions and writing quality in general. So the results in all that research unanimously says that definitely doing peer review with Google Docs is beneficial to students because they produce more feedback, more comments compared to face-to-face peer review. Also, students demonstrated increase of writing skills, and also Google Doc peer review evoked positive attitudes in students. As for power dynamics in class and in peer review groups, this research is very scarce, but I still was able to find something. So one conclusion was that in the peer review environment, when the instructor withdraws, one of the students becomes instructor and takes the instructor role, and power dynamics remains in place. Also, conflicts are based on gender, race, academic success, character, etc. In mixed L1 and L2 groups, conflicts are exacerbated by the differences in language proficiency. However, all researchers concur that power issues are mitigated in computer-mediated group activities, but even in those environments, there is enough room for conflicts. And this is the context of my research. The data collection took place in spring 2020. You all remember what happened during that mischievous spring when COVID-19 hit, and we all had to convert to that quasi-online mode of teaching very rapidly in a rush. I can say that I was not very stressed with that change because I was familiar with online mode of teaching, though I did not teach a technical and professional communication class online, that class where I collected my data. but I did teach online English 101. So I was kind of familiar with what I was going to do. The research occurred in a Hispanic serving institution in the Southwest, University of New Mexico. I decided to do a case study because I was very interested in looking very deeply into students' interactions. So I recruited only 6 students and formed 2 peer review groups of 3. And the peer review assignment was professional correspondence dossier. That was a chain of emails: complaint email, response, inquiry email, response to inquiry, and a memo. And also I used 2 Google Doc modes, anonymous and identifiable. With each project, I did 2 peer reviews, intermediate peer review and final peer review. And so I decided to do the first peer review, the intermediate one, in the anonymous mode, and the second final peer review in the identifiable mode. Why I decided to use Google Docs? Because before COVID, I did peer review in 2 stages. One stage was through discussion board with our learning management system, and the other was face-to-face. And that peer review was in pairs. But after COVID lockdown was announced, my students became deprived of their regular face-to-face communication. And I wanted to still keep that communicative component in our peer review activities. That's why I chose Google Docs and I chose groups of 3 so that they could interact. And why I put asynchronous in quotation marks, because though it is actually asynchronous, because people can comment at any time, but I wanted them to do peer review during our regular class time. And our regular class time was Tuesday, Thursday from 12:30 to 1:45 p.m. So that's what we were going to do. That was our procedure. Students pasted their drafts to the Google Doc that I shared with them by midnight on the day before. On the peer review day, starting, as I said, at 12:30 p.m., students left marginal comments and a final comment on the drafts of 2 classmates. For the anonymous session, students signed out of their Google accounts and used pseudonyms. For the identifiable session, students signed into their Google accounts and commented under their real names. And the focus of peer review was broad. The prompt requirements, I did not specify any particular aspects to comment upon. And also, there was no limit on the number of comments, because I was very interested in seeing how students comment in their authentic feedback without any limits, without any restrictions. And these were my research questions. What elements of student peer review performance contribute to high collaboration among students? And also, what aspects and details does an instructor need to attend in designing a successful peer review class activity? And these are my findings. One finding was overwhelming commenting. Not every student demonstrated that, but in both peer review sessions, in each group, there was a student who commented much more than others. So a Google Doc page looked unwelcoming to the next reviewer who was a few minutes behind, because those students were supposed to start their peer review at 12:30, but it actually never happened because some students showed up a little late or posted their drafts late. So it was not like ready, set, go. And that's what happened. So on this screenshot, you see a page. Here we have two reviewers, Ali and Raymond. You see that almost all of the comments belong to Ali, and only one comment belongs to Raymond. And I apologize, please do not pay attention to this weird timestamp. The peer review, as I said, started at 12:30, but Google Docs, for some reason, do not show the timestamp. They only show the date. And I wanted to see when exactly students will comment. So I downloaded my Google Docs to my computer as doc files, and this is just a glitch that I cannot fix. So again, I apologize. Instead of 6:52, it should be 12:52, 12:55, 1:07, etc. But anyway, we see that Raymond was a little behind Ali. Ali finished her last comment at 1:06, and Raymond commented at 1:07. This means that he forgot to put his pseudonym here, and he did it later as a separate comment. So it was much later, actually 3 hours later. However, on the next page, we see no, this is not the next page. This is Alice's draft. And the other reviewer was not very active. And we see that Raymond left many more comments. So here we see 1, 2, 3, 4 comments. This was an anonymous session. Sorry. Okay. And this screenshot comes from the next identifiable session. And we see the same story. We see that one reviewer is more active, and the other just prefers to leave one comment to make sure that I see that he was here. However, on the next page, he comments much more when the first reviewer, for some reason, on the second email preferred not to comment. You may ask, sorry, let me just go back. You may ask how it is related to power dynamics in a group. I think that power relations here are obviously unequal, because reviewers perfectly know that they are not the only one person who should comment on this document, that other people need room too. Of course, it's clear that Google Docs will find room for all comments, but as I say, the page may look unwelcoming in how it looks now. I never asked my students why they behave this way, because I do not think that would clarify anything. However, either they are not mindful enough and think that, okay, I will comment on this email, let the other reviewer comment on something else. Or either they are sure, they are confident in their feedback, and they think that my comments are so valuable, I will produce them as many as possible. So that's why I think that this situation represents a conflict. As for my next finding, it was repetitive comments, because some students commented on a minor issue multiple times, occupying marginal space and wasting their time instead of commenting on more significant issues. So that's what we see here. This student was very fond of commenting on extra spaces. Careful with extra spaces. Again, very noticeable spaces, spacing, and lots more in this paragraph. And another reviewer became obsessed with our conjunctions at the beginning of sentences. Take and out of the beginning of sentences. Do not use conjunctions to start your sentences. No conjunctions at the beginning of a sentence. I can say that on the next page, the author did use the same writing conjunctions at the beginning of sentences, but reviewer just gave up and stopped talking about it. So how I see it, honestly, these comments remind me of an overprotective parent who repeats the same truth multiple times to their disobedient child. Put on your hat, it's cold outside, put on your hat. I think it would be much more effective to mention it once, but explain why you think that no conjunctions should be used to start sentences, or extra spaces are bad. And also it makes sense because, as I said, I did require a final comment at the end. This feedback on the same issue demonstrated multiple times could be saved for the final comment with a good explanation. And the next finding is confusing comments. Confusing comments, there were actually two sources of confusion. One source, when reviewer jumped from one issue to another in one comment. For example, do not use this word, try expanding off of it, such as, what kind of slack? How bad is this getting? So here he starts on word choice, do not use this word, and then switches to content. What kind of slack? How bad is this getting? So this comment was confusing. And another comment, is this email too? If so, this email is the boss responding to another employee, not the one who made the complaint. Make sure to read all requirements in the prompt. This email is supposed to be the boss asking for more information. So here he does talk about one part of the assignment, but he refers to different aspects, different aspects of it. And again, it makes the whole comment confusing. Of course, I understood what he meant because I read this comment multiple times, but I cannot expect the same diligence from the author. And another source of confusion was reviews writing lack of proper revision in reviews writing. For example, this is the author's text. Again, the safety of our employees and customers is our greatest responsibility. We, again, appreciate any concerns brought up the chain to your management. And here is the comment. Try keeping it between the boss and employee. Remember that the boss is directly emailing the employee, so try saying any concerns that you. And again, I had to reread a few times before I understood the point, because try saying any concerns, I became confused how these two words go together, and then that you what. But later I understood the cause of the problem, misplaced quotation mark. So he started here, the author's text, any concerns that you, and what he actually meant, we again appreciate any concerns that you brought up the chain to your management. So that's what reviewer's suggestion was. But again, I cannot expect that the author will read and reread and reread to make sure that they understand. So definitely this comment needed good revision. And so implications, this goes back to my research questions. The first research question was, what elements of student peer review performance contribute to higher collaboration among students? And I did not provide any definition to collaboration at the beginning because I was totally unsure of it. I did want to look into my findings and to deduce this definition later. And that's what I'm going to do now. So based on what I found, collaboration occurs when reviewers understand that everyone should be able to contribute equally. One mention of an issue is enough, and comments should be clear to authors, properly written and revised. And the next question is how we are going to achieve all this. And that brings us to my next research question. What aspects and details does an instructor need to attend in designing a successful peer review class activity? I think that these changes should concern two aspects: peer review structure and peer training. In terms of peer review structure, I'm totally sure that the number of comments should be regulated. For example, 5, 10 non-repetitive comments on different levels of the text. If an issue occurs in the text multiple times, like it happened with extra spaces and conjunctions, a reviewer can mention it in the final comment. And with this measure, we will kill two birds with one stone. First and foremost, not only I had students who commented extensively and excessively, but I also had students who preferred to leave just a couple comments for the entire draft and considered their job done. If we regulate the number of comments, again, it means that students will work equally. And on the other hand, quality of feedback will increase because not only we will avoid repetitive comments, but how much some students love commenting on grammar and other issues, because it's just easier to comment on grammar compared to looking at a text from bird view and comment on higher level issues. So with this regulation, students will have to comment not only on grammar, but on rhetorical aspects, on genre, on the overall structure. And that's how I think it should work. And in terms of peer review training, there is a big problem that I noticed immediately as I started teaching composition, that students often view class writing that is outside of their major assignments, such as peer review commenting, journals, emails to instructor, as informal. That's what I heard from them. And it is just very painful to see how, for example, a student who submitted a very good draft, let's say that assignment, professional correspondence dossier, very good draft and observed genre conventions and demonstrated good understanding of rhetorical concepts and everything. And the next day, the same student sends me an email, and that email violates all conventions, nothing in the subject line, huge paragraph, not broken down into smaller ones, and everything is all over the place. And I see that there is a great problem with transfer, how to transfer the knowledge we teach them in class to outside writing situations, real life writing situations. And due to this misconception, peer review comments sometimes may look untidy and confusing because they are informal, because I do not grade them on style and on the same grammar, you know. To avoid this situation, I think students need to be explained that peer review commenting belongs to professional communication and should follow the same conventions. In particular, revision is essential. And in this case, we can guide students as to how they can distribute their time effectively. For example, if we have a 15-minute class and we do an in-class peer review and assign 2 drafts, so they have 25 minutes per draft, 25 minutes. And for example, they can spend 20 minutes on actual commenting and 5 minutes on revision. So that's how it can be done. And that's pretty much it with my presentation, with my findings and conclusions. The question for discussion is, what are other ways to design the peer review process with Google Docs in a college level English class to make it more collaborative? And these are my references. Please reach out to me at these emails. I always welcome feedback and good discussion. And thank you very much for listening to me.